Hello everyone, welcome to the final section of this course, which is AWS Glue Serverless ETL. The reason I have put Glue here because it is also something which is pretty popular in the serverless world, in the serverless data engineering world, and you can use a Glue instead of EMR also. If you want only PySpark environment or if you want only Spark environment, you can use AWS Glue. If you want anything more than Spark, then you can use EMR, because in EMR you have seen that there are various applications that you can install in the EMR servers or nodes, but Glue supports only Spark using PySpark and Scala. No other programming language is supported. So if you want to have only Spark experience, that too serverless, you can use AWS Glue. This section is going to be pretty short, and this is what the agenda looks like. I will introduce you to AWS Glue, then we'll go into AWS Glue's various components like data catalog, AWS Glue crawler, then the serverless infrastructure of Glue, then how we can execute PySpark code on Glue. It's not similar to that of EMR. There are certain things or few changes that you have to do in PySpark. So I'll show you how to do that. Then Glue provides its own API also. Like Spark, we have various data frame APIs, various transformations and actions. Glue also has its own API, which gives us various transformations and actions. And the Glue API that I'm going to talk about will be only theoretical. I'll not show you any hands-on, because in most of the cases, you'll be using PySpark only. At least I have not used Glue as much. If you want me to cover Glue API in more detail, please let me know. Then finally, I'll conclude the section with Glue orchestration using workflow. So let's start. First of all, what is AWS Glue? AWS Glue is a serverless ETS platform which provides PySpark and Scala execution environment. Now you see that the main underlining in this definition is that it provides ETL platform, which means that you have to extract data, do the transformation, and then load the data, which is done by Spark also. So Glue is the execution environment or the infrastructure that is provided by AWS in a serverless fashion. But to do the transformation, you'll have to use PySpark code only. You cannot use any other transformation framework as such. You have to use Spark framework only, and the options that are available is PySpark and Scala. So you cannot use anything else. And there is another major component of Glue, which is Glue Data Catalog, which can be used to discover data across various data stores which are available in AWS. So Glue is tightly integrated with AWS ecosystem. You cannot run Glue anywhere other than AWS. So it gives you the Spark execution environment in AWS only. You can use both batch and stream processing. So whatever we have talked about in Spark batch processing and Spark stream processing, all those remain the same. Nothing changes. You do not have to learn new concepts. Of course, you can learn the Glue APIs. I'll give you a high level overview of the Glue API, but if you know Spark batch processing and Spark stream processing that I have mentioned in this course, then you are good enough to write applications using PySpark on Glue. And both the batch and stream processing constructs are exactly similar to that what we have learned so far. Another very important component of Glue is visual ETL, wherein you can do some drag and drop using some pictures and boxes or nodes as Glue calls it, and Glue will create the script automatically. I'll show you that anyway in the hands-on. As I mentioned, AWS Glue has multiple components. The very first component is the AWS Glue data catalog, which provides AWS Glue crawler also. So there's something called AWS Glue crawler, which I'll talk about in the next slide itself. Then we have Glue ETL, using which we run PySpark codes or Scala codes to do the transformation from the source systems and then write it to the target system. And for orchestration, we can use Glue triggers using Glue workflows, which again I'll discuss at the end of this section. So we can have various different data sources. We can have Parquet file, CSV file, JSON file, etc. We can have SQL and NoSQL databases or relational and non-relational databases. We can have data warehousing sources also. So you can have both OLTP sources and OLAP sources. And we can have streaming sources also if you are using Spark stream processing in Glue. Now, the purpose of the Glue data catalog is to store all these different data sources. So all these data sources are stored in Glue data catalog, which acts as a metadata of your organization. Not only the data sources for Glue jobs, you can use Glue data catalog as your organization's metadata repository also, which can store the metadata about all the data stores that your organization has. It can be a MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, DB2, SQL Server, Redshift, Snowflake, S3, etc. Then we have data targets. Again, data targets would be similar to that of data sources, and the information of data targets are also stored in Glue data catalog. And in between, you have Glue ETL, and we run PySpark code or Scala code to execute the transformations that we want to do in Glue. And it reads the data from data sources, does the transformation, and writes it to the data targets. So that's why when it reads from the data sources, it is E, which is extract, and the transformation is done by PySpark, which is T, that is transformation, and then finally the transformed data are saved in the data targets, which is the L part or the load part. So that's why Glue is known as serverless ETL using PySpark and Scala. Before going further, let me show you the Glue screen or the AWS console. So this is the AWS console, and we can search Glue here actually. We can type Glue and then get into the Glue console directly. And this is how the landing page looks like. We have various options here. The first one is the general one, wherein it shows different options like getting started, ETL jobs, visual ETL notebooks, job run monitoring, etc. Then you have data catalog tables, data connections. But these are the major components. The first one is the data catalog, which is used as a metadata repository for all the data stores that you have in your organization. And when you use Glue data catalog as metadata repository, you can save all the databases, tables, the schemas, etc. in the Glue catalog. And this is completely serverless. We have to just create the database. We just have to create the tables, and that's it. Glue will save it automatically. The second component is the data integration and ETL. And here we have the actual ETL part. The top part is the data catalog and the bottom part is the ETL. And here we write PySpark jobs to execute them using Glue. And there are triggers and workflows also, and that's all about it. So these are the two major components of Glue. One is the data catalog, which contains the data catalog itself and something called crawlers. And in the data integration and ETL part, we have ETL jobs, which can be coded or developed using Visual ETL notebooks, or we can upload our PySpark code also. And then we have triggers and workflows. So this is what the Glue console is.